Hey, what's going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for a second video today on Monday. Oh, dear Lord. Okay, so that's me. I just got that's a photo of my payout that I just got, and all I can say is, wow. Really, that's all I can say. So, I ranked 17 to 20%, a lot higher than I expected. I don't know. I mean, my ranking was 9,000. And so I thought that it wasn't going to be this bad. I thought maybe I would be in the top 10% somewhere. And so what this means, at least, and so what this means is that the number of people who A, performed in the leaderboard, and B, actually ranked on the leaderboard, because these are two different things, and we need to talk about them. We'll talk about that in the video to come. It's just crazy. And then I want to compare this to what Archangel was on the first pass, because that was about 6 months ago, but that was probably the last time that we ever really got to see what the leaderboards look like for active players. So this is absolutely wild, and I think if we haven't already been spelling the end of Marvel Strike Force, that this is going to be it. Because this tells us how many active players actually give a crap about this game anymore. So if you're ready to go, everybody, let's boil this down. So first off, obviously, when I was in the game, you know, I saw my mail, I read my mail, and that's where I saw it. But I want to go into this. So this is the Scourge leaderboard. I scored 1.1 million. To be honest, I was pretty exhausted after the first one. Like, this has been a mountain of colossal fuck-ups in Marvel Strike Force for the Nova event. And so I think that there's a couple of things going on here. One is that people were just exhausted and didn't bother to... Maybe they did their milestones in the first pass, and they didn't bother to actually rank or even play, frankly, the event of the second pass for the last 3 days, and that's valid. But here, so I'm at 9,100 at 1.1 million, you know, and however many people were I don't know, 50 points below me, 50 spots below me. There's a lot of people that were kind of bulked up in the same little area. Nonetheless, I was going through the rankings. I was like, what do I need to 5-star? By the way, I'm 25 shards short of a 5-star, which are the shards that I gave away on the first pass because I didn't complete the 4-star. Now I'm kicking myself a little bit, but it is what it is. Like, I don't really care that much because I guess that my drive for the game has kind of been dying down a little bit since, which is pretty obvious, and I'm sure for everyone else as well. So I don't really care too much whether or not that's 5-star or not. You know, I'll get it at some point later on. But I kind of expected. I was like, what do I need to get that? And it was like somewhere like 11 to 13%. And I'm almost certain that I talked about this in my last video. I was like, what do I need for the rank payout for me to get there? And I think it was around here. And boy, was I well off the mark. I was like, there's no way I won't get this. No, apparently I won't get this. So what does this mean? If I got, what was it? It was a 17 and whatever what was my ranking? 17 to 20%, right? And I was at 9,000. So let's just do some math. Some high and low math. Let's just do this really quick. So let's just take 9,100 and say I was at the 17% mark, just for sake of argument. That would be 535 people per 1%. Multiply this by 100. Suggests that only 53,500 ranked. Okay, let's do it by 20%. So that would be 9,100 divided by 20%. It's about 450 times 100. It would be about 45,000. So there was anywhere between like 45,500 and 53,500 people that ranked. Give or plus or minus a little bit. So that's not a lot of people that actually came out with ranked rewards in Nova. Now, I want to show you something else. And this is a photo from one of my mods who sent this to me because he did a 100k run on his alt account and showed me what he ranked. And it was about 124,000 with 103,000 points. Now, what was not made very clear is that this was not enough to rank. So ranking on the leaderboard required a flat 400k, apparently. But I don't think that this was ever actually made apparent to us, ever. This was made apparent that you needed 400k in order to get the unlock, I'm pretty sure, wasn't it? But it wasn't. All the other previous Scourge events never required 400,000 to rank. It was, in fact, I think it was 100k, if I'm not mistaken, to actually qualify for ranked leaderboards, because you could do that by just clearing difficulty 1 in the previous events. And correct me if I'm wrong in the comments down below. Like, I'm pretty sure that's how the Scourge events have been running up until now. So this was 124,000 people at 100k-ish. But that's not who ranked, right? It was only the top 55,000 people or so that actually qualified for ranked rewards. But there's two things going on. And I want to point out that even 124,000 people that wanted to rank or tried to rank and cleared difficulty 1 is astonishing. But like I said, this is probably to do with the fact that people are tired and exhausted, right? There was 2 different events that were running. One with the original leaderboard, one with the original milestones before the packed screw-ups and all of that, and then they asked us to do it again for the second time. So I'm assuming that there's a decent chunk of the population that just said no and didn't bother to do it because they just were fed up. And that's fair too. So this 120,000, I would... Oh, no, that's something else. We'll show that later. This 120,000... I would take this a bit with a grain of salt, obviously. But nonetheless, it's a huge decline. Like across the board. Whether you're talking about 124,000 or you're talking about the 55,000 that ranked, these are some pretty scary numbers. I would say that the people who had scored 100,000 plus are people who are active, who are actually paying attention to the game on a more regular basis. They're like, okay, I don't like to do this, but I'm going to do it because I'm an active player. That's my assumptions that I'm making there. So trying to, take account into some of the people who didn't bother, who maybe were active players, but just didn't give a shit about the leaderboard. There's a good, I'm not going to pull numbers out of a hat, but maybe we're sitting at 150,000 active players. Like, the active player base is down, and I'm sorry that if people want to bury their head in the sand, this game is on decline. This game is going down. This game has been going down, over time for quite some time, and I've been tracking this kind of stuff, especially with big leaderboards like the Scourge events with Nova and so on. And so I want to go back to this that I showed. This was a video I did after the first leaderboard of Archangel, and this was a huge decrease in the Scourge payouts in terms of the leaderboard. And one thing particularly of note was that how many people actually ranked. Now, I should actually have this here, I believe it was. So this was 103,800 points on the Death Scourge event on the first pass, and this resulted in roughly 200,000 players. Now, there were some arguments made back then that because of the nature of the event requiring minions, that some people might have said fuck it and didn't bother to do it. Maybe something similar to now with the way that the event was like cut into 2. I don't know. But I don't think that the minion block in Death Scourge was really that bad. It ended up being pretty easy once we actually started doing it, and so I don't know if that argument really holds a lot of water. Nonetheless, this actually, I'm pretty sure, was a ranked score back then, because you did get a payout from 100k plus, and this was around 200,000 players. Okay, so if we take this 200,000 players from 6 months ago to what it looks like now, to about 124,000, even if we say, let's say 25,000 players just decided not to do it because of this stupid second run and whatever, that's still a very large decline over the last 6 months in the active player base. Like, I don't know how else to slice this. It's not 100% backed science here, but we can see the numbers are going down. We can dispute by how much and how many players just chose not to engage with this second part of the event. But to say that it's somehow, on par with Archangel or even better than 200k is just flat out lunacy. Like, we're never getting back to any of these numbers, and we're on a course for this game actually being dead. And this is something that people don't want to hear about, and I'm concerned as well. We can see this in the YouTube viewer numbers, for example, whether it's myself or whether it's for other content creators, Mobile Gamer, other big content creators are losing the amount of views that they would normally get from even from back then, from in like October, November, December, and it's not seeing the same results. People are quitting. People aren't playing the game like they used to. People aren't playing in the numbers that they used to. And so this is a thing that I'm trying to drive home and that people need to understand. And if you don't think that's the case, you're burying your head in the sand. And I don't know what else to say to Scopely. Like, what kind of numbers do Scopely need? There's one other thing that I want to share with you, which I didn't have up right at the time, and my apologies. It's one of my other spreadsheets. I haven't been tracking it too regularly, but I have this other tab here on my spreadsheet called, I don't know, leaderboard tracking. And so I did somewhat track this from May the 18th Family Hero event and May 18th Light the Crucible event, and you do see numbers in the accounts around 340k. You can see it in the photos here. But this isn't active players. Like, a lot of these, you can score on this by like spending 1 bit of energy, essentially. So what it shows you is that there are, I don't know, like 200,000 200,000 fluff bot accounts, or whatever you want to call them. Like, they're not active players. They're just kind of accounts that are there. It could be, I don't know if you've seen these streams where they just try to get people to download the game and get to level 10 or 20. That's these people here. They're not actively playing the game. They're just here for whatever reason for like a day, and that's it. But it's not the active player base. The active player base is like this. These are the kinds of numbers that we're looking at for the active player base that we care about. You know, when people are quitting the game and we're struggling to recruit for alliances, this is why. Because the numbers are never going to look the same as they were before. I don't give a shit about those other events and those huge, the 340,000 that you saw in those photos. I don't really care about that. Because that doesn't represent the main part of the game, the active player base that we're all engaged with. Right? Like, I'm shocked. And maybe that's why I'm kind of lost for words, is because I'm legitimately shocked at these kind of numbers. Like, we're going downhill faster than ever before, and I have never been this concerned about the game's future than now. I know that I've done videos like that in the past, and I know that I have done thumbnails where, yeah, the game's dying, because I genuinely believe that's the case. Every single time I do this, it's because the numbers, the player base, and the leaderboards in these active areas are going down. Down, every month, every week, until at some point, there's not enough players left for people to care about. And so, it's kind of like a exponential decline, if that was the right way of usage, is that the more people quit, the faster they're going to quit, and the more and more that they're going to quit going on. Because the active players, need people to play against, right? It's no fun if all of these people quit, and it's a walk in the park. At some point, people are just going to throw in the towel because they're bored, or whatever. And this is going to happen more and more and more, because Scopely can't turn this boat around. They have not been able to find a way to keep the player base happy. You can see this in the colossal fuck-ups that they have from day to day, from week to week, that they can't get anything right in this game. Their QA is awful. Their bugs are huge. They have a huge mountain of bugs that they refuse to fix. And this game is more and more going into the trash bin, if it hasn't been already. And so why am I still playing? Because, unfortunately, as a content creator who uses this as their main source of income, until I find, and that's why I've dived into Lord of the Rings. Some of you may have noticed that I've actually dived into Lord of the Rings, and I may in fact actually pick up a third game. And why is that? Is because I don't actually believe in the future of Marvel Strike Force. I don't think that, while the game may still be around in a year's time, it's going to be a fraction of its former self. That I think that this game is done for pretty soon, because they've never found, Scopely and Boundless have not found a way to turn this boat around in a meaningful way to bring players back, or to actually increase the active player base number. And it doesn't help that they just screw up time and time again, and that just reduces the confidence that the players have in this game and in this company. Don't know what else to tell you guys. We'll see on the next leaderboard event, like the next Scourge, whatever, like after Nova, whoever that ends up being, and we'll compare some of these numbers together. Maybe we'll see a better reflection in the second Nova Pass. I have no idea. All I know is that things are going downhill, and they're not going uphill. I don't know how to... I had no plans for ending that. I didn't know how to finish that. Anyways, that's the end of this video, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope that you guys got a decent payout. If not, well, there's always next time. Boilon signing out.